Hey there, whether you are a new reseller, you're just dipping your toes in, or you are a little more experienced, I thought I would share the 5 things that I wish I had known, or 5 things that I would do differently if I were starting reselling today, or the advice, say, I would go back and give myself when I first started. If you're new here, hello, my name is Margaret. I am a reselling homeschooling mom. I have been reselling on eBay, Etsy, and other platforms for over 10 years now, and on YouTube for almost as long. Homeschooling my kids since 2017-ish, so 6 or 7 years now. This is what we do. This is how I support the kids. This is how I'm able to stay home and be with them as a single homeschooling mom. It's very exciting. There's lots of ups and downs and lots of things I've learned along the way. So if I'm able to impart any of these to you, then I am happy to do it. Now, these are not going to be your typical, like, have all the tools you need, make sure you got your boxes, which are all super important. But I thought I would try to get a little more personal with some of these, or things that really resonated with me. There's one of them that's like a little more technical, but oh well, whatever. Let's just jump into it. The first thing that I would say to myself back in the day, or if I was starting over, is to not listen to the gurus that were out there. I don't watch or get involved with as many YouTube resellers as I used to. I used to be pretty involved in doing hangouts together and things like that. So now it's pretty rare that I do that for multiple reasons. Just, I don't like get involved with drama or things like that. And it, not always, but it seemed to always lead to some kind of drama or beefs or things like that. And I just thought, you know what? I don't have time for this. I'm single mom, homeschooling my kids, trying to make a living and have some fun doing it. And I didn't need any of that. But the thing was, and again, tell me, I don't know if people still do this, but back then, about 10 years ago, there were so many people that would have these live shows and they would just trash people. But then they would also like talk bad about like other reselling styles, like you're not a real reseller if you don't do XYZ, if you're not selling everything, if you're not paying attention to this, if you're not checking out, SEO, and you're not doing ROI, return on investment, if you're not like, so there were all these little like judgmental things that were being said. And as a brand new reseller coming into it, I was like, ooh, this is something I need to think about. I don't know. So I started putting a lot of pressure on myself early on to like diversify and to pick up things that were supposedly making more money. And it didn't always work out that way. What was selling for one person or what they said was selling for them wasn't always selling. So over time, I learned that I needed to sell what I enjoyed picking up, sell what worked for me. I love selling jewelry and toys and vintage items and things that got me excited when I went out to garage sales and thrift stores. It may be different for you, maybe electronics and video games and Pokemon cards, who knows? So go with what you enjoy. And yeah, of course you want to make money, but you also want to enjoy what you're doing. That's the whole point, right? So that is number one for me, is I would not have put so much pressure on myself based on external people and their opinions. And yeah, some of them were pretty convincing about like the way it should be. Some of them were, you could see through, but it was very, I don't know. Again, there are very few resellers I still watch. So that is definitely something that, be discerning with who you choose to watch. And if you get a weird vibe or they make you feel like guilty about anything or negative about what you're doing, then they may not be the right person for you to watch. And that might be obvious for some people, but it took me some time being a new reseller. Like I was craving community at the time. I really wanted to find like-minded people, and be part of something, because I didn't know anybody in my personal life that did this. Now it's like, I don't mind that I don't know anybody that does this. But back then it was like, I really wanted to connect with other people that did. Now it's like fine. I know some people virtually that I can talk to if I need to about reselling stuff. So it's cool. The second thing is the one technical thing that I wish I had focused more on when I first started, and that was the shipping aspect. That was definitely the hardest thing for me to navigate when I first started, was figuring out how much, I ate it on shipping all the time. It was like bad. So many times I undercharged for shipping and then was like, oh, dang it. Now I gotta ship this item and it costs way more than I anticipated. So over time, I really had to learn, like, have all the shipping supplies I need on hand and make sure I've got boxes and packing material and all of this. And when I first, finally started getting the hang of it, I would weigh everything and just really almost overcharge. There was a time there where if I went over on shipping more than like $2 or $3, I would refund, which I think is fair. But I was so nervous because I'd eaten it on shipping so many times that I started charging more than I knew it was going to cost. More than I knew it was going to cost. Do you ever say things and sometimes like, doesn't sound right when I say that? I started charging more than I knew it would actually cost to ship the item because I lost money so many times. So that would be one thing that I would tell myself, like, you need to learn how to ship. It seems like it's a no-brainer, but it's not. That was like the toughest thing for me. Let me know whether you're brand new or you've been selling forever. Like, what has been the hardest thing for you when you started or you're just starting out now? Like, what's the hardest thing? The third thing is to not be so hard on myself, take things so personally. When I would have an upset customer, somebody wanted a return early on, I was like, oh man, I felt it when somebody wanted to return an item. It's not personal. It didn't fit or they didn't like it or it wasn't what they thought. Maybe I didn't describe it right, which was also a problem early on. But to just roll with it, returns are part of it and upset customers are part of it. It's just the way doing business on any kind of sales type platform is going to be. So if I had a package break, or it didn't happen super often, but if somebody wanted to return something, or say the shipping, then just to say, you know what, that's something for me to learn from, and I can move forward from that, and it's all good. Another thing that I wish I had known more about when I first started was clothing brands. I still don't sell a whole lot of clothes, but I see that there's so much money to be made there. And I've learned so much about so many other things that I feel like clothing would be something that would have been easy for me. As long as I don't have to clean it or iron it, then I'm okay. But I can barely get my laundry done. Like, I don't have to go and wash another load of laundry that's just, and hang it up and Okay. Anyway, being able to find things that were good brands that would be easy for me to ship and list and all that stuff, because I feel like there is an untapped potential there for myself, and that's something that I'm trying to learn a little more about, just like I did with so many other categories, just slowly learning brands and slowly picking up things here and there. I get that question a lot, like, how do you know so much about so many different brands, and how did you know what that was? And it just comes from time spent in thrift stores, in garage sales, looking up items, tons of misses, like picking things up and they end up being duds, but trying to find ways to find the silver lining and learn something from everything. So that's how I slowly have just learned little by little by little. And I need to apply that to clothing as well. Now, again, shoes, there are some shoes that I know, but I still am not 100% on all that. So it's another area that I'm looking at crawling into. And for me, it might be clothing. For you, it could be toys or video games or jewelry or all sorts. There's so many different things and categories that you can learn about. There's money to be had all over the place. And the fourth thing that I have definitely gotten way better about, but probably not as good as I should be, is paying really close attention to that input and output of money. When I very first started, I was super careful. I had 30 something dollars, like $32, $35 that I would go out garage selling with. And when that was gone, I was done. I would come home with whatever I picked up. I would list it, sell it, and then the profits I would put to the side, and I would take that $35 again, and I would just go forward with that. And I did that for a very long time, where I was like budgeting myself only $35, and that was it. And everything else was just the profit I would put to the side. When that ended and I blew open the door to go thrifting and garage selling without too much of a budget, it was fun. It is fun. But I have to be a little more wise, because you've got to make sure you've got the money coming in that will cover the money going out, especially if you're wanting to do this and support yourself, or you have certain financial goals that you're trying to meet. It's super important to be able to account for where your money is going. So that is something that I've had to get a lot better at. Now, I will say that over the last few months, I haven't been listing, well, just this last week I've been doing way better. But prior to that, like, I was going thrifting, and I wasn't listing anything. So I've got quite a little backlog sitting there for me, waiting to be photographed. And so that is the agenda for this week, is knocking out a lot of those. And the thing is, if I sit down and apply myself, put on a Marvel movie and just have it going, I can knock out a ton of photographs and then just sit down and list when I have time, between lessons with the kids and watching TV or wherever we happen to be. I'll just go and take a batch of like so many pictures and then just chug away at them until it's gone. I would love to hear from you if you are a seasoned seller or a new seller. What are the things that you wish you had known when you first started reselling? And make sure you check out the comment section, because there's so much good advice that comes from viewers and friends of the channel. And I have some goals for my channel, and I would really appreciate if you subscribe to the channel. I think I was looking at my analytics, and it was like 30% of viewers are from the channel, like 70% of people that watch the channel aren't subscribed. So if you wouldn't mind clicking that subscribe button and showing YouTube that, hey, I will subscribe to this lady, and I appreciate it. I will talk to you guys on the next video. Thank you so much for hanging out. Bye.